Hello, you. Have I ever told you about when I used to work with the refugees? I had just moved back from Albania to the States, and the Kosovo crisis had just happened. And so I worked with an organization called World Relief, and I had the privilege of helping all the families who came to Chicago find jobs and places to live and basically get used to living in America. One of my favorite things was that when they first arrived, everybody had to clear customs in New York, and so they would fly domestic from New York to Chicago, which meant that when they landed, I got to go on the airplane and talk on the little walkie-talkie thing like a stewardess and tell everyone, welcome to America, please stay in your seats, someone will be with you soon. Since I've always wanted to be a stewardess, I thought it was really cool. But I worked with the Kosovars pretty exclusively for about a year. And after that, I worked with refugees from Afghanistan, Liberia, Sudan, some other countries. And the reason that refugees even come to America is because our country, our government, and their governments disagree on where they should be allowed to live. In fact, governments disagree on a lot of things, but we as people have a lot of expectations for our governments. For example, governments may differ in policy, but I believe all of us feel that our governments ought to be fair, that they ought to support justice and not injustice, that they ought to support freedom and not repress freedom, that they ought to support equality and not inequality. When I look back at last year in America, there were lots and lots of racial riots. And basically it boiled down to the idea of fairness, that each side felt that they were not being treated fairly. And what's interesting is nobody just threw the idea of fairness out the window and said, well, fairness doesn't matter. Each side was fighting to say, our argument is on the side of fairness. We want our governments to be fair. We want them to protect their citizens. We want them to stand up for us. It made me think, well, where do these expectations for our governments come from? Why do we expect them to treat us fairly? Why do we expect them to treat us with respect, with equality, to give us freedom? It's interesting, even in our imaginary worlds, we have kind of hold imaginary governments to the same standards. Even in Middle Earth or Hogwarts or in galaxies far, far away, great kings and leaders are revealed by their behavior, that their character is revealed by their behavior. And you don't ever see an instance where a king is celebrated and respected for abandoning his troops in battle and leaving them and running away. You don't ever see a great leader lifted up and respected because they enjoyed torturing innocent children or torturing innocent people. That's not something we can even fathom in our world or in any world. In 1948, in December, after World War II, the UN released a Declaration of Human Rights, a Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And everyone, the leaders of several different governments had gotten together and they put together this declaration of about 27 different articles. And so they listed among them the right to be able to work, the right to be able to marry, the right to be able to live free. And all of the members of the UN have ratified at least one of these policies up to this point. Several of them have ratified even more of them. But it made me think that if we believe in human rights, we believe that governments should support human rights. If we get angry at an organization like ISIS and we say what they're doing is wrong, then by what standard do we have to say that what they're doing is wrong? So for example, did human rights not exist before 1948? And if the UN ever dissolves, does that mean that human rights will no longer exist? Or is it something that existed beforehand and they've only just been written down and recognized? If they are inherent to us, if they are something that belong to us no matter what form of government we live under, then again, where did they come from? If we say that we agree on human rights and we agree on certain laws because it helps us all get along better, well, I mean, that seems to me like it's just a matter of opinion, because Obviously, people wouldn't still be fighting about them if there are people who are fighting against them. There wouldn't be a reason for refugees to have to come live somewhere safe. There wouldn't be a reason for refugees to have to be taken care of by the UN, who has drafted this document in 1948. So if we say that our human rights are not a result of, well, this is the most reasonable way for us to live together, well, not everybody agrees on that. So it seems to be just a matter of opinion. If we say, well, it's the most convenient, well, then again, we have a problem. If you look at what ISIS is doing, to them, from their perspective, they believe that they are right in what they're doing. They believe that they are correct in killing and murdering innocent people. By what standard do we have the right to say that they are wrong? Is it because it's inconvenient to us? No, it's not inconvenient to us at all, unless we happen to be someone that they're killing. It's not obviously something that's agreed upon by the majority of the people in the world, or else they wouldn't be doing it. There wouldn't be a history of a Stalinist regime or the Nazi government, or history shows again and again and again that not everyone agrees how we should treat each other. So when we come back to human rights, if we believe in human rights, if we believe in fighting for human rights, if we expect our governments to behave fairly, if we expect them to promote freedom, if we expect them to protect us, then by what right do we have to ask them to do that? Where does that come from? Where do the human rights come from? Do they only exist because we write them down? Or did they exist before, and will they exist after? So it's just something that came to mind thinking about what's going on right now. It's very easy to condemn people that are doing things that we disagree with. But what it gives us is a jumping off point to say, well, then why? Why do we say that's wrong? Why is it not simply a matter of opinion, that what they're doing in their opinion is fine and in my opinion is not fine, and that it's just two clashing opinions that are equal opinions? We feel deep down that they're not equal opinions. Why? Where does that come from? What base do we have to say that they're wrong? So just some things to think about as we're thinking about to look at things intellectually and emotionally. This is something that can make us very emotional. But why? Let's use that emotion and say, okay, why? Why do I feel so strongly about this? Why do I feel so strongly about how governments should behave, even if it doesn't affect me, even if it affects people that I'll never meet? Why do I feel so strongly about how they behave? So just a little something. We'll cover some more later in the week. I hope you're having a really great week, and I love you, and I'll talk to you again soon. Take care.